I'm going to go ahead and move on into our next section here. Now, this here, I kind of think, and ladies, you can tell me if you think not. I think this is a section that you probably kind of want to look through. It varies by person. So when you look at testing, I know some of you guys mentioned that. So how are we assessing our children when it comes to standardized tests? Each state that you are in, so it really depends on the state, right? So about half the states have requirements for standardized testing for homeschoolers. This is how it's divided out here. So I know, like here where you are, there is no requirement for standardized testing. I know I saw that with Arizona, right? There is not. For North Carolina, where Eliana and I are, we do have to give a standardized test. And we do have options on the test that we have to give. You know, it varies. I know she uses the CAT. I think it's also termed as Lenovo. It has a different term that they use for that as well for the CAT. I use Woodcock Johnson. So we do have, I know that we can have variations as to what we can use, but we are required each year to test them. We have to have them tested each year, and we get those scores that's given to us each year from testing them. So standardized testing, we put a link here, and I'm gonna go let this lady share as well, but we put a link here that you guys can click into it by your state. And at the end, for those that stay around, or afterwards, you know, if you want to kind of have us link up just to kind of go through it some more. But for instance, if I click here, and I know that, okay, that's not the proper link. Well, that's one of the links, but that's not the one I want to show you. That one is fine if you want to go in and use that one. I just want to click here because this one is more detailed. This is great with, this site here is amazing. HSLDA. So they're actually lawyers, and they really step up because there are certain people who have had to fight within homeschooling to prove certain things. And so they give guidance in so many different things to protect you, to guide you with a lot of different things, setting up your plans, your curriculums. If you're contesting certain things, you know, if it was to ever be stated that, you know, you did not keep record, all of these different things, they walk you through a lot, because this is why the main thing, and we also stress that as well, is that you know the laws by your states. Each state is going to have different laws, right? So again, we're in North Carolina, but I'm going to choose a different one just outside of here because I already know the rules in North Carolina. I'm trying to see here. Okay, so I know that Ayana, you're there in PA. So let's go ahead and take a look. So options for homeschooling, there are 4 options for homeschooling listed within PA. It gives the grades as to when school should be required. In North Carolina, we don't technically have to school our kids until 7. Right? And some states is 5, right? So we don't technically have to have it registered by the state of North Carolina that they can be 5 years old and we don't have to school them. So we can literally start them at 7. Now, you know, obviously you don't recommend that, but it gives us to that guideline, right? It'll tell you in regards to, you know, even with homeschooling them by immunization records, right? Or even having it put in for religious exemptions, etc. Let's see here if mandated. So state mandated subjects. Some subjects will have, some states will have subjects that you have to teach. It's not an option. So when you're building and you're planning for things, you can bring in other courses, but certain states will have subjects that you have to cover, right? So English, you know, you'll have to look on it and actually see exactly what those subjects are, but it will tell you what you have to actually have covered within that state. I really recommend this site, especially if you're just starting with registering your homeschool or whatever it is, because it really walks you through like a whole lot. It'll take you step by step through it. It'll tell you exactly what those subjects are you have to cover, etc. So in short, if you were to click through that, for the sake of time, I'm not going to think it, but the link is on here, so I definitely recommend going through it. It'll tell you as far as which standardized tests that they recommend. So I just pulled this up here because I thought this was pretty neat, right? This will tell you which, this right here has a list of all of the different tests that's on here. So the CAT is called Terra Nova too. So I know, Eliana, you use CAT. That's another name that they use for it, is Terra Nova. It tells you according to what is it that you're actually looking for as well, right? So I want something that's untimed. This also goes into what you're looking for your student. Right? For your child, you have to really say, okay, what is it that I want to prep my child for? So as of current, colleges have stopped with SATs and things of that nature. However, it is still going to be used as a high barometer for those that they are looking at that's showing a certain level of caliber. A lot of kids are struggling more and more with ADHD, a lot of technological devices all day, every day, that their attention span is dropping. They're not doing as well on standardized tests. It's really dropping low. And then when you're looking at the grades, it reflects horribly. So of course, there's been a lot of fighting for removing these sorts of tests, etc. Long story short, it's not saying that you cannot take it. And students that are still taking it and that are doing well, which as we saw with those results earlier, a lot of those are homeschool kids, is giving them a huge advantage. So if your focus is that I'm not interested in higher education in that regard for my kid, that's not what the focus is for us, etc. I just want to do to meet the bare minimum of the requirement, then you might not need a time test. It might not be your focus to focus on something that's timed. But if you are training them, sometimes maybe in the beginning of the year, because you're letting them get introduced to taking the test, you're trying to give them that comfortability with it, then you can give them an untimed test. It doesn't matter. You're just getting them familiar with them and how it actually works. But if you want to train them so that they know how to stay within time, that they know how to skip and come back, how to star, key things, I teach my kids test strategies, looking for keywords, looking for what it's asking, right? Is this a definition question? So are you looking more so at the vocab? Is this a comparison question, right? There are different tactics that you can teach them on how to break down a test. So if you're trying to teach them those skills, and then you also know that if they were to actually take the ACT, SAT, et cetera, these are timed, right? Not unless they're coming in there with exceptional needs. These are timed, then you would want to have something that's timed for one, so that you can see as the teacher where they're falling within that realm, and to be able to work with them and, to see where to train them at, to also get a look at the test to see where it is that they're spending the most time. Sometimes, and even as a teacher, with teaching inside of the public school system, it would really break my heart. I would see students just sit there and stare. Now, according to teaching at schools, you're not allowed to, they have a time period too, but you can't tell them you should skip. And you'll say, sweetheart, maybe, you want to go ahead and try to go to the next one. And then they'll just be sitting there stuck. They're like, no, but they're trying to figure it out. And it's already 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And you see the knees shaking and you see the hands going, and they're just stuck versus moving on. So there's certain test strategies that you do want to teach them. Whereas if you spend 20 minutes on it, then you don't know it. And you're not going to know it after the next 20 minutes. You don't know it. It's a guess sort of situation. You don't know it after, it didn't take you that long to know that, but it's strategies that a lot of the students are not necessarily given to teach them how to navigate through that. And it brings about a lot of anxiety. And so they shut down, and it's not really a reflective of what they know and don't know. Sometimes it's anxiety that's speaking. So I say all that to say that it really depends on what it is, on how you structure your school, and what you want to give and what you want to hold in on. I like Woodcock Johnson. I'm definitely going to also try Terra Nova or the cat like Eliana is using as well, especially for the beginning of the year. But Woodcock Johnson for me is because it identifies if they're struggling. That's what I like about it. It identifies with how I'm teaching them with certain things. It lets me know process-wise, if they're struggling with processing a concept. And that's what I like about it. Like, that's the part about it that I really, really like the most. Now, because I do want my children to be able to take, SATs, GREs, and things of that nature, that is where I'm moving in regards to, the Iowa State test and things of that nature, to prepare them time and things of that nature. But while they're in their basics, and for me, fundamentals are extremely important, I want to know where the gaps are. I want to know how their processing is. I want to know where, how they're, I want to know those things. And so when I tested my children with the, Woodcock Johnson, it did tell me where they fell grade level, which was like, great, it's what, it's going good, praise the Most High, but it also highlighted like areas of comprehension. Like, I could see for some of them, like my nephew, he gets really antsy. He gets really, like he would focusing through, and it's like, okay, I was really nervous because I'm like, I want to make sure that I can actually serve him. I can help him and this, that, and the third. But when I took him in and we had him tested with the Woodcock Johnson, when I was looking over the results, he was like, no, his comprehension is actually the strongest. And it was like, okay, that really helped me as his teacher. That helped me because it let me know certain things with breaks and, just other ways to approach him. Not that it was a comprehension issue. It's like, no, actually comprehension wise, he has his comprehension scores are extremely strong. We're struck. This is other, it was able to make it really clear for me in that area. So again, I say all that to say, and we will share this doc with you all as well. It lists all of the tests. There really is There's a ton that you can take. These are some of the common ones: Woodcock Johnson's, Bridgens, Terra Nova, which is also known as CATS, Iowa, the Iowa A, the Iowa E. These ones with the Iowa State, those exams are going to be, again, if I want my kid to be a Harvard student, a Yale student, even just, any Ivy League or even just a good college, I want to kind of stay in that area because these are going to push to that standard. These are going to follow methods of formulas that's very similar to that method of the SAT, the, GR. Is going to stay in that area. So that's gonna, you're gonna look more there. If you are just wanting to make sure, again, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I just think that it's a research thing. You really want to know what would work best for the type of program that we have and that we're doing. Okay, so I'm gonna mute and let the sisters jump in. I know, Zakia, you don't have to test. I know you said that you do like your book test, things of that nature. But I know Arizona is like a state where, Arizona is just pumping and banging in regards to the like homeschool setting, and they give you tons of funds regardless of a need, and they don't require you to test. And as in regards to like standardized testing, there is no requirement there with that. So yeah.
Oh yeah, so I was just gonna speak to like you said about with the testing. Also just like what Ovaya is saying, that website is awesome. Definitely look at it. It's like what I use like to just make sure I was checking the boxes when I was first starting. But also making sure that you see if you do have a testing requirement for your state. Some actually it does require for you to use a time test. So you have to look at that. Even for North Carolina, it has to be the law says it has to be a standardized test or a normed test, which means some tests, their non-time tests are not normed. They're not standardized. So for example, the CAT is not standardized if it's not timed. So you have to use the time for the CAT. So you just that's just something to think about, making sure that you're looking at what the requirements are for your state and what test works best. Yeah, I like definitely being able to see where they are, how they've grown annually. It just, it helps to make sure that we're still progressing and we're on the right path. Um, we just like she was saying about no need for SATs and ACTs for college, that is true. But also like she was saying, they're still being used, and what they're mostly being used for is scholarships. So if you want any kind of scholarship academic wise, your child will have to take SAT and ACT. So that's just also something to keep in mind. The last thing I just wanted to mention is please, whatever test you decide to use, I don't know if it's like the CAT or that kind of thing where they actually are taking like a written test. And when I say that, it could also be on a computer, but a test that's closer to like SAT format. Practice test, because like some of the questions are just worded very strangely, and it just gives them an opportunity to kind of see the types of questions they are. Similar to if anyone was in school and you took the SAT, you took the PSAT first. So you have that opportunity to do a practice test, at least with the CAT for sure, before they actually take the full test. And we do the practice test every year because it's only like $5 more. And so because they'll forget the types of questions annually. So we always give them a practice test before the actual test, just so that they can understand the types of questions.
And I
Awesome. Yep.
wanted
That
to,
is. Nope. Go ahead, sis. You got it. You got it.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, and then for those of you who live in a state where you don't have to take a standardized test and may not want to yet, I know for like the curriculum we use, the milestone books, they have test booklets. And so that's how, that's what I also use for my boys. They have a test booklet for every single subject, for every grade level. So that way you can still at least like know where your children stand, even if you live in a state where they don't require standardized testing.
Absolutely. So definitely check out that site, and so many others that are out there. And Toda, thank you so much, sis, for clarifying that too with the time, like with North Carolina with that standardized. So yeah, we've always done the time, but I didn't even realize that, that is actually in the, this is the benefit of the community because you actually, clarify, and more so from when speaking with other people, because I've always done, as far as with them at the end, we take them in. So I don't even test them. Someone else tested them at the end of the year. But I know that I didn't realize that it had to actually be timed here, which makes sense because that would be the standard for our state. Got it. All right. So we looked at here just the graduation process here. I think for the sake of time, I know I saw it come up with like funding. So if you don't mind, I'll just condense this section here. In regards to graduating your children, you print out a certificate. Zakia has that here, and you put the homeschool name on it. They'll likely have sometimes, but you can have the parents, which are the teachers that would sign it. And that document is the diploma that you are saying that my child has met the requirements by the state. Now, again, that same link that we were showing you with the state will tell you what is the rules for the state. So the child should have had this amount of, the child has to be, I know for North Carolina, at least 9 months of, education that's taking place. We have to have a standardized test that's taking place at the end of the year. The school has to be, an intent to homeschool has to be entered in. They need to be taking classes in English, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So once you, as you're following the guidelines of what your state is requesting, once the child has completed that for the high school level, at that point, you would go ahead and print out that certificate. You would have it signed. And that's that. Now, I don't know about in Arizona, Zakia, so you could probably speak to that. But I know, like, again, that site is going to really help with guiding on by your state. Some of them, you have to take that diploma and you have to, submit it in to the DNC or whatever the state education department is for your state. You would go ahead and submit a copy of that. I know once you finish homeschooling your children, you close down the school for some states. For some of it, so each state will have its own rule. But with graduation, and I think that that's something for those that have, I don't know any of us here have children that old, but for those that are within that, well, some of us do actually, yeah. Eliana, you're pushing there, and Zakia for her older ones as well. I know Zakia's son, as she was mentioning, is getting ready to take, he's going into 11th grade, right? So I know, like, that plan, having an intent plan. So when you have kindergarten all the way up until 8th grade, so elementary and middle school, the grades as much, it's not that it does not matter, it does. But when they go into the high school level, being very strategic on how they're planning out, especially with what they want to pursue after that, is really important. Making sure you're covering what your state requires for courses, but then also making sure that they're getting the courses that is going to be of benefit to them. A lot of students at this stage are taking dual education. So they're getting a high school diploma, but it's not uncommon. I know for many, especially here that I meet in North Carolina, their children are 16 and they're graduating high school with an associate's degree. So they have a high school diploma and they also have an associate's degree because they sort of do the dual education thing where they're taking college courses and doing high school at the same time. Some parents, it's not a rush. They're not in, or some students don't feel that they finish at 16 with high school, and then they go into college and they'll maybe do their associate's degree in a local community college or something like that or whatever. Some feel like they don't really want the college setting at yet because they're only 16. Some feel a little bit intimidated by it and they rather just sort of stay in the high school setting, and parents find other trainings and trades that they can do until they're a little bit more mature. It's going to vary by home. But as we all know, it's not uncommon that we know that they are a little bit younger for some, that finish out early, and for some they're not, so it just really depends by home. But high school is a very strategic time. That doesn't change, I don't believe, in how that is in the traditional, or public setting versus homeschool setting, because that is really taking the route as to what you want them to achieve. If you're trying to send them to a certain school, if they're trying to go into a certain field, this is great with them going into, for instance, if they wanted to do hair, cosmetology, or whatever else, if they're doing some sort of trade, with, fixing cars or whatever it is, this is a great time, like how you were offered for some of us in public school, a trade. You allow them to start building and taking things that would help them prepare for that. Versus with the K through 8, that pressure isn't technically there. and it's not like a pressure, like a bad thing. You're just being intentional with a plan that you are mapping out the courses they need, but then also making sure they're getting things that are put in according to their interest. But the graduating portion, that's essentially it. Once they've met the requirement of what they need to complete high school, then you graduate them. Be it that it's early, or be it that you make them wait to 18. You sign it and that is it. I know for some states they do require transcripts. And so again, high school is something different, especially because when you're applying for college, with certain things that they want to see. Some will. I think last I read that colleges, I don't know. That one is, I'm not quite sure. I don't know if you guys can speak on that. I saw two things on that, some requiring it, some not. But I know that that's something that comes up a lot with maintaining transcripts for high school, just because, it's another ballpark there, because now we're talking about prepping for college and mainly more so if you're prepping for college. So that's how the graduating process. The main thing is making sure that they're getting the required courses that they need, and then you sort of move them forward and deciding if you're wanting them to go ahead and start college early, start taking college classes early, or if you would just rather them do, some sort of, still receiving training or trades, etc. Anything you ladies want to add to that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I know, so again, with my oldest, by the grace of the Father, he got accepted into, there's a training school by here, in our area. And so the program that they have is coding. And so for him, what I had to go through with him, of course, I had to submit his transcripts. And I also have a blank version of it that I can also share, but this is what it looks like. I think this is it. But yeah, so as you can see, and I have a blank copy of this, but I just kind of put in all my information over here. And then also their credits, their his grade, my name, or my email. And then
Stop sharing because I can't see it. Want me to stop sharing screen? Oops, sorry.
Was I sharing?
No, I couldn't see it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, you were sharing. You just have to actually change it. Yeah, but it's hard to see, so it's good.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. But well, I'll definitely post a link in terms of the blank copy on there. But I was able to submit that to the school because with the training program, it was required for the way it is, it's it starts at the junior level. And then also these courses that they're taking as well can be transferable into college, because that's what my son wants to do. He wants to do computer science. And so, and we homeschool. My boys have been homeschooled by the grace of Father since birth, and he was able to be accepted into the program and also, Father willing, be able to go to college. But I know here, homeschool is considered a private school is what it's considered. So there's just, so even just debunking that myth, showing that, they can, take advantage of this even if they're homeschooled. And then I know my second oldest, Father willing, he's going to go to the same school, but he wants to do carpentry. So he's more interested in that trade. And of course, my younger ones are too young right now, but yeah. So I just wanted to share that resource.
Yeah, no, that's important. That's a great resource. Maybe we can add that too, sis, on that link that we have. This way we can share that out as well. I know certain things that we didn't mention, or we just kind of, as we go and thinking about it, so we can just add that all on that document that we share out. No, that's great. Can
you share that in the chat too, Zakia? Because I'm interested because mine is getting to that age too.
Yeah,
and I know transcripts. So like Ovaya was saying, when they're younger, well, at least in North Carolina, and this is state by state.
Yeah.
In North Carolina, you don't have to worry about transcripts or anything. So I've just never done them, to be honest. But I know that that's something that we'll have to do for high school. For example, I know in South Carolina, they actually have a person that helps them with that. And in North Carolina, we don't. So I'm definitely interested in that resource. But I also was going to say, 8th grade is also kind of pivotal, depending on where your child is. So for example, like I said, our eldest is taking a college course right now. So before he enters high school, he'll have the opportunity to have up to 6 college credits. But then we are not, I want to also say this, that we're not planning to graduate him early. Okay, so hold on to your horses, because a lot of people are like, well, why are you doing all of this? Well, we want him to keep going with what he wants to keep going with, but socially, emotionally, I'm not, trying to kick out my
Oh, yeah.
14-year-old to, stay away at college. But there are so many other things, like here in North Carolina, like she said, with the dual enrollment program, as long as he's considered a high school student, he can be able to take advantage of those. So he's personally expressed wanting to get like an associate's in an electrical, as an electrical engineer or electrician. I think it would be for the associates, or working on cars. So whatever, he'll have some extra time since he's so far advanced to some of these other classes to be able to take classes like that. So that's another thing too. Like if you're in a state that, because what we're looking at it for is that it saves us money when he does, you know, decide to go to a 4-year college. So it's not about graduating him early, but take advantage of those free courses and different things that the schools are offering if your state offers a dual enrollment. And here it's like you said, it's directly through the community colleges that they're able to take those kind of courses. So it doesn't necessarily have to be if you want to graduate them early. But I also was saying, like, for 8th grade is also important because, for example, our eldest wants to go into that computer engineering and robotics. He has to be up to a certain math level. And so all praises to the Most High, he's already ahead. But um, if he wasn't that far ahead, we would have to really be looking at what courses that he takes each year and maybe doing some math over the summer to make sure that he was at the right math level to qualify for what he wants to do for college. So, if your kids are at that 8th grade level, so it's good to kind of, if they have a strong interest in something, look to see what that is, just to make sure that you are getting them the right math courses for high school. And sometimes that means they would have to start early with something in 8th grade. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
Absolutely, sis. That is so true. I love that you added that. And I love that you highlighted that there too, that the benefit of the dual enrollment, that others, parents looking at it in that way, is way cheaper. You get to save and to still get that extra benefit. And not everyone is interested in, the early graduation or sending them off. Not everyone's interested in that. And I love that you highlighted that as well. It's by home. For some, it's like, I don't see the need to wait. For others, they're like, no, because I'm not just worrying about academically. I want my child to be emotionally and, spiritually, all these things that's more important, prepared than just putting them out. That's not what the goal is. So it's going to vary again by those things by home, but you want to, and I think the sister said it, I will just iterate it again. This is where it is important that you do understand the rules and things like that, the laws of the state. That is definitely important there. But yeah, 8th grade is one of that grade that, we do have a lot of 8th graders that are able to take, those high school credits. So if they already have that interest, like sis was saying, 8th grade is also a good one to really kind of hone in and take advantage of that for sure. Absolutely. So, okay, send it over. Perfect. So we will send that through here. All right. So a few of you guys asked money wise, right? Expenses for homeschool. How do you spend a lot of money on homeschool? Do you homeschool? Does it break the bank? I think, I don't know. I would say, well, we'll start from here. Zakia mentioned already the ESA grant that she's receiving with Arizona, right? And they give a few hundred per kid, right, Zakia?
It's like 16, well, my older two are 1,600 quarterly, or
Okay.
1,600, and then my younger three are over 1,600, which is a blessing because
Well, you said quarterly.
over.
That means for like 4 quarters. So you're getting that 4 times out of the year?
Mm-hmm.
Girl, that's almost making you want to move to Arizona. I'm like, wait,
Wow.
hold on, quarterly? Whoa.
We've been living out here for 4 years, and I remember a sister told me about it from back in 2019, and I researched it, but at the time it was only being awarded to kids that were in alternative schools,
Yeah.
or had an IEP. And
Mhm.
so I'm like, well, you know, my child, like I don't meet those qualifications. But then
Mhm.
in August of last year, they had opened it up across the board for everyone, even like
Wow.
no income. You could be rich, you could be a
Mhm.
millionaire and could still receive ESA. And so
They're
it
literally
was,
giving you their same exact funding that they would give to the school.
yes. So it's
Yeah.
really a blessing, and we're praying that it keeps going, because I know our new governor, we were a little nervous because like she wanted to kind of take it away and put it into the public school system,
Mhm.
but a lot of parents protested against it. And so it's still going strong. And the blessing is that the Father's perfect, because like when I applied for it, I got it, let's just say the time span was 3 weeks. I applied, got approved all within 3 weeks, and I have a debit card. And right when I got the debit card for each of my child, they had stopped doing the debit card. So now I don't have to like pay out of pocket and get reimbursed. I could use that debit card on Amazon. I use it to pay for my boys' music lessons at the music school down the street from us,
Yeah.
Park District. So, and ESA, like I said, there's ESA in I've like just about every state, but I know some like have different requirements. But I say definitely look into that. And they have like different names. So if you just type in empowerment scholarship in
Mhm.
whatever state that you're in, it'll just be called by another name. Like I think in Indiana, what is it called? Like the Hope Scholarship or something, like they'll have a different name. But
Yeah.
even if you just I've like definitely take advantage of that. But that has been a huge blessing for us.
For sure. I bet. I mean, I get that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Now we
With
do have
5 boys.
ESA with 5 boys, girl. I'm like, wait, hold on.
Yes.
Quarterly. Quarterly. That's 4 quarters.
We
I'm
Wait, hold on.
saying,
we need
and boys
that.
are expensive. It's expensive. Like before, we were paying out of pocket for this stuff. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you get the
Mhm.
luxury to now have that. So that's amazing. Like for real, for
All
real. Now
praises.
I know we do have ESA here, but ESA in North Carolina only applies to, like you were saying, a student that has an IEP. And if you
Mm,
decide to homeschool them, I think that they take you up to the max with the 17 grand a year. But they join it with the opportunity. Now they have another one that's called the opportunity program. The difference with the opportunity program is that you don't necessarily homeschool the students with opportunity program, you send them to a school. So you're
right.
using that to help fund it. The ESA, you could homeschool it, but your child would have to have an IEP. So you can homeschool your student or your child, your kid, they would have to have an IEP though. So that's the difference. But this site that we were just looking on, the HSLDA, they actually also offer scholarships and they give you a few $100s each kid as well. So, and they open it up several times throughout the year. So, like their next one that's coming up is going to open in September, and then they're going to open up another one in October. So, and that's by any state. So it's like, yeah, even though you have it there for Arizona, like you still would be able to apply to that because that's not specific to any state. And they also give it to you by per child. And so if you click, I think we put the link is right here actually as well. Here it is. Here goes the link right there. So HDLSA grants, right? Also, if you are a part of, like, just say you like with you, Eliana, you host the group for like with the homeschool, like as a sort of like not a co-op, but you have a group, they actually give you additional grants for those if you have groups to help, because their thing is that they want to actually keep homeschool going. They want to keep the
Wow.
support behind it. So if you click on here, there's actually a totally different grant that's for if you have, or if you're a part of a group. And I think your group only has to have like 15 kids, which your group surely would have more than 15 kids. So here goes the HSLDA annual group grants. They open this one in March. And then the curriculum grant, right? That one, again, they open it several times throughout the year. So the next time this is going to be open is going to be September. And then they're going to open it again in October. Yeah, so that's as far as that. I'm sure you can probably research other scholarships or things like that that's being put out there for children. But outside of that, as like he has listed here, as far as just taking advantage of the public libraries. So public libraries, they honor homeschool teachers as actual teachers. They allow you to check out more materials and they allow you to keep it out for more extended periods of time. A lot of times we sleep on the library, but there's a lot that's there. There's a lot of material that's there that you are not paying for, so definitely doing that. I think also what helps is partnering up. Like when you partner up, you like, for instance, I have IXL. Someone else in the chat said they have IXL. We use Reading A through Z. Reading A through Z is literally what we were using in school, right? You can have 30 students in the class. So if everybody is splitting it, you're using it however way you want. You still have all your students in there. It allows you, if you partner up and you join in with those that are interested in some of the same tools, you pay a lot cheaper, you know? So all of the kids get the benefit of it, and you're not paying the full price that you would if you had not done it that way. So partnering up and having people join in and split for all programs will give all of you guys access to the same programs, and you just do it way cheaper. I just recommend not going crazy that first year. It was expensive for me first starting out because I did like everything. But you learn what works and you learn what does not work. You learn how to, and some of the stuff you already have, you learn when it will work, when it is more appropriate. So you can kind of, you can still bank on those and pull them in, but I learned a lot. You have way more than you can ever use within a year. So just learning how to, pace those, keep it paced, I guess pace yourself out with what you're taking in. I had tons of materials that I even have from teaching, tons of stuff. So I really didn't need as much as I had. I just thought I did, as I was learning. So I think starting and pacing yourself, as Eliana was saying, like she literally, just was using the scriptures. You can do a whole lot with that. My kids do full lessons on that as well. You can cover grammar, you can cover, comprehension, you can cover tons of things. Even if you were just starting there, you could still hit all of the targets. You can cover history, you can cover so many different things. You can do cause and effect. You can do all of the things that they would need to necessarily learn that you're doing. You can do it from scriptures,
Absolutely.
So it is, you give yourself that room to really pace out versus trying to get everything at once. It becomes overwhelming.
Can I say one thing? Yeah, I was just
Absolutely.
also going to say that one, I didn't know about that group grant, so all praise to the Most High. But thank you for sharing that. But also, like you said, when not going so crazy, like I think, like you said, my first year I brought, and I didn't buy a lot, but I still brought more than I needed. Even with that, there's so many free resources. It's really not necessary. And like I said, even if you're just using Easy Peasy, we only use it for certain subjects, but it's a whole curriculum from kindergarten to high school that you can use. It's completely free. And so there's really no reason to overspend on anything like that. And then like, with the extracurricular stuff, like I said, it's just always whatever your child is interested in. It's not like I had like a formula to find the scholarships. Whatever your child is interested in, I literally just go to that place, even if it's like, $600 per child for a week. And I just ask, do you have scholarships? And you'll be surprised of how many will say yes. So don't sell yourself short. If your child has an interest in something, just go ask about it.
Absolutely, sis. Absolutely. That is definitely the case. You've hit me a lot to that. And it's so funny because there is so many out there. There are tons of scholarships that are out there. So definitely find out. A lot of times the YMCA will work with you as well. A lot of times they will surely work with you, like, and they'll
They
work
have
with
an
you even,
income-based
was that
income,
scale?
yeah,
Yeah.
income-based where you can get discounts, because like we're a one income family, but you can get discounts on everything. So like even the homeschool, so whatever you're registering for, you can get discounts for.
You can get discounts for, absolutely.
And
And they will say that again, sis. What'd you say?
So I was going to add to what Eliana said with the YMCA. They even have scholarships for families, because we're the same way with the one income, where you can apply and you don't have to pay as much for a family membership. Like one time, like this is back when family memberships were $89, but our family membership only was paying $30. And we also got a discounted rate on the programs. So applying for that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And even when you go there, I think why they really show to work with you tons. Like they really, really show to work with you tons. It's like, even like, oh yeah, like your income wasn't actually as low as the lowest one that they offered, but they were like, if you really just need the support and you want it, we'll still give it to you. So like they are really, really willing to work with you. So that's a really great resource to go to.